Hello everyone and welcome to Witches of the Moon. My name is Jen and I'm your Tuesday hostess. Now this week we are talking about how we bond or how we connect with our tarot decks, our oracle decks, that kind of thing, any kind of reading card that we choose. Now I do know some people read regular playing cards, and so I would guess that you would attune yourself to those decks the same way that you would tarot or oracle or Lenormand, just depending on what you're reading. And so for me, I think purchasing the deck and finding the right deck is the very first step of getting to know your deck. And I think that if you find the right deck, and each deck speaks to different people. You may have all of your friends buying one particular deck and you're looking at that like, yeah, okay, no, that's not for me. So, if you buy that deck, you may have a harder time working with that deck. You may not be able to bond with that deck as easily. So I think really half the battle is just finding the deck that you connect with. And once you find that deck, getting it home and cleansing it, whether you do a smudging or whatever, and then you do a blessing for it, which is something that I do. I do a smudging, I do a blessing, I set the intention of what I want that deck for. And that's, because there are some decks that are just for me, that I pull that, it's just an everyday card, which I have like a Reiki deck that I use that's just for, something for me for every day. So I may have a deck like that, or I have a deck that one of my friends created that's just for me. So that deck I wouldn't necessarily do readings for other people with, but for myself, it's just like a daily thing that I would do. Now, not saying that I don't do a daily draw for my new decks that I get with, because I do. That's one of the ways that I bond with my deck. And while I was in New York, while I was in Lilydale, I did purchase a deck. I did purchase this Ganesh deck, and it's something that I had seen on Amazon for a while, but I wasn't really sure if I was gonna like the cards or anything. So I wanted to hold the cards in my hand. And the great thing about the shop that we were in is that she purchases these decks, some of them, she just purchased some for you could buy, but she has like samples of the deck and the box and sometimes the book that you can actually hold the card in your hand, the 3 or 4 cards, whatever is there. So you get to see firsthand what they look like, what they feel like, and so I think that's really great. And I think a lot more places, if they did that, they would actually sell more decks, but that's just me. Anyhow, I purchased this deck, so I'm actually getting to know this deck. One of the ways that I like to do that, like I said, is to pull a card every day, which this is my daily draw for today. And so when I do my meditation, and that will be very soon, I will use this card to meditate with. This card will stay out all day, and I will work with this card. Now, another thing that I like to do is I like to just shuffle my cards. Even if I'm just, sitting there watching TV, or if I'm watching a video online, or like now where I'm creating a video or making a video, I will just sit there and just shuffle my cards over and over and over. And I will also take this deck with me wherever I go. No matter what it is during the day that I'm doing, I will just throw it in my bag and away we go. So that's another way that I work with my deck and I bond with my deck. Now, one of the first things that I like to do after I get it cleansed, after I get it blessed, that kind of thing, is I like to look at each and every card. I look at each and every one and I notice different things about them. What do I feel about this card? What, the meaning? What comes to me when I see this card? And so I do that. Now, each time that I do a reading, I will notice something else about the card. Something else will stand out right away. I read intuitively. I don't read by the book. I know some people do read by the book, so your messages and your interpretations may always be the same across the board, no matter who you're reading for. But for me, it's totally different. I can read for 3 or 4 different people and pull the same card, and each time that I pull this card, it will have a different meaning. There will be something else on this card that will jump out. and will speak to me and be a message for that person. I mean, it may be the color blue, maybe the color red, it may be the number, it may be the word. I mean, there's numerous different things that you can find on a card that could have some message or meaning for the person that you're reading for. So after I have worked with the deck for a little bit and I have done readings for myself, I've pulled a daily card, and then, you know, gradually I'll pull more than one card and that kind of thing. And once I feel comfortable enough with the deck, I will do some practice reads for other people. I belong to several different groups where I can actually do that, and it's a great way to try out some new decks and get a feel for them. You know, how are they going to work? How do they relate to other people? That kind of thing. So you know which decks are good for what situation, and you know which cards or which decks that is just meant for you. So that's kind of how I do it, and I'm sure there are a number of different ways that people do it. Maybe they're similar, maybe they're not. I've heard some people actually sleep with their decks. They will actually put them under their pillow or with their pillow, or they leave them beside their bed. That's another thing that I like to do sometimes. And another thing that I do with every single deck, each deck has its own crystal. So not only does it, I mean, like the card, that the crystal actually stays with the deck. It will sit on top of the deck. If I take the deck with me in a bag, then the crystal that I'm using with that deck goes with me and goes with that deck. That crystal travels everywhere this deck does. So that's another thing that I do, and that way, because I connect with my crystals. And so by connecting with my crystals, I'm actually putting that energy that I put into the crystal into the deck. And so that's another great way for me to bond with my deck. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say for this week. And if you haven't subscribed, do so. And make sure that you watch everybody else's videos. I'm sure they're going to have some great ideas for you. If you are new to tarot or oracle, or you just have questions about it, you know, feel free to ask. I'm sure any of us will be happy to answer any question that you have. So yeah, leave me some comments down below, and I will see you next week in the next video. Have a great week. Bye.